So picture this, if you will. You're in the wilderness at night. There are no city lights, no sounds of cars nearby, no cell phone signal. Unknown creatures are moving all around you and maybe just a little bit closer to you to see what exactly you are and whether you might be a meal or not. For most of us, there's a defined alien feel to this world, a real difference between the soft transitions in the natural world compared to what we know in the hard lines of controlled civilization. Being in the wilderness world with its dangers is a test of your ability to adapt, to be a part of something you don't have control over. A truly important experience to your development as a person, precisely because it might scare you. In fact, the wilderness should scare everyone. Terrain, weather, and animals have made a potent combination that has tested many throughout known history. To not be scared when leaving the confines and comfort of society would be foolish at best, and dangerous. Think about the ultimate wilderness trip, the ill-fated Apollo 13 mission to the moon. There were literally years of planning, training, and study that went into that mission. The astronauts left in the most prepared state they could be, mentally, physically, with the right equipment, skills, and abilities to, hopefully, see them through. They had learned, developed, and mastered. When things went wrong, the astronauts used their wits to stay alive and make it all the way home. Your wilderness adventure, hopefully, will not be as dramatic as that of the ill-fated Apollo mission, but there's seemingly not much difference between outer space and a backcountry setting when things go wrong. The Wilderness Training and Leadership School wants to make sure that you are prepared for whatever you might find. Dwight Eisenhower once said that plans are useless, but planning is everything. You can be prepared for your wilderness challenge, whatever it might be, through effective planning and with the understanding that sometimes plans do change. The trip planning and leadership block of instruction develops the outdoor adventurer and preparation tasks and a little bit of lesson in outdoor leadership. The fun and safety of outdoor adventure rests on proper planning, the ability to visualize an unknown future, determine courses of action that might be or might not be appropriate. Planning also helps you make sure that the team you're going into the wilderness with is the right one, the right people, the right personalities, and the right skill set. That you have the right gear, that you're seeing the risks associated with your plan of action, and, if necessary, mitigating those risks so that everybody comes out alive and without injury. We have to warn you, though, that this course delves into quite a few subjects that are covered in significant detail through other courses that are offered by the Wilderness Training and Leadership School. There are some things also that might not be covered at all. Maybe we felt that it didn't matter at this time. In fact, the purpose of this course is to provide a framework for you as the student in which to place your knowledge, a set of baskets for you to place things into. You may have questions in this series that are answered by later series. Even so, you're welcome to, and we advocate that you ask questions in the comments section. That way we can talk to each other and share knowledge. You never know. Somebody else may have the same question you do. Finally, we want to emphasize that every single trip is unique. Potentially different people, different weather, different trail conditions, and a whole host of other factors. The group or individual planning should be very thorough in the consideration of all the different types of hazards, environmental or human. In this course, you'll learn a simple outline of variables to consider in designing your own trip. Every trip in the wilderness, though different, involves 7 main elements: the camping methods you'll use, the ways you plan your activities, the teammates you go in with, the routes and how you plan them, weather you'll need to consider resupply, and your food plan to begin with, and contingencies, those plans you have for emergency situations. All these elements, while considered separately for the sake of this course, are interconnected and interdependent. The people you bring on the adventure will determine the expedition goals. Rigid contingency plans to fall back on give your team the ability to be flexible. Good rations help your group stay healthy and achieve the goals, and they tend to increase morale too. A good, well-planned route also increases morale. The relationships between these 5 elements are endless, but the point here is simple. Good adventures come from good planning. There it is, the office. A place that is important to our lives in so many ways, but a place that also holds quite a bit of frustration because of the scenarios we find ourselves in and people we find ourselves around. Sometimes you just need to get away. You've gotten a bit burned out, and you need to do something new to recharge your batteries. We all find ourselves in that situation, and nature is a fantastic place to go. In 2019, there were 46 million active hikers, about 13 million more than in 2010, and that number is only expected to grow. You're joining a growing movement that seeks to return, in a controlled and conservative way, to the natural spaces that our ancestors left. The American Hiking Society was quoted as saying, "Hiking begins before you reach the trailhead," and that is absolutely true. So what all goes into adventure planning? Where do you start? It's so complex, right? An adventure can be viewed as a living, breathing entity wherein every part of the design, the equipment, the people, the objectives, everything acts on each other to form a successful or failed trip. You may have to take into account a lot of seemingly complex factors like cars, boats, pack animals, sometimes thousands of pounds of food, high expectations of your fellow travelers, unknown terrain and wildlife, weather that's never truly predictable, and coordination with government agencies, just to name a few ideas here. Without a part of the system, or at least consideration for a need of the particular part, your system may fail. The good news is that the basics, and the basics are important throughout the wilderness adventure world. They're all the same for small adventurers and big adventurers alike. There's no need for overly complex or even those metaphysical considerations. And in all reality, those things might be just detrimental to what you're trying to get done. More complexity means there's a larger chance of something going wrong, straight up. The military has long used a saying in operational planning, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You should be able to plan an adventure on the back of an envelope using a little experience or training to ensure that you're bringing the right people and the right equipment with you to do the right tasks. If your plan isn't that easy, then redo your plan until it is. Every year, hikers get injured or lost, sometimes even killed, in the wilderness because they attempt trips that are way beyond their abilities. You have to think about something. What experiences do you bring to the table? What does your outdoor resume look like? That's the first part of the adventure designed to consider. What are your actual skills? Your level of physical conditioning? Your comfort level with the outside world? This isn't a time to pad your resume with tall tales. You have to be honest with yourself. Everybody has strengths. Those strengths might be athletic abilities, mental resilience, problem-solving abilities, or even just extraordinary patience. Everybody also has liabilities. The fear of heights, aversion to animals, large and small. These things can cause problems. Some basic questions you'll need to consider for yourself and your teammates include, but they're not limited by the following options. How much outdoor experience do I have, and where did I get it from? Would I be able to handle an emergency such as a seriously injured or lost party member? And what would I do if I found myself in a situation where I was injured? Do I have the physical conditioning and psychological mindset to complete this trip? How long is the trip? Can I be self-supporting with the equipment and food I carry, or do I need to get a resupply? What kind of resupply, in that case, will I use? Is it a cache, a bump box, a hike out or a hike in, or some other method? What are the trail conditions for this time of year? Are there special places along the trail that I want to go see? Are there shelters available along the trail, maybe on a daily basis, or do I need to bring my own? What kind of safety issues are there? Is it hunting season? Is it off-road vehicles? Are there pack animals on the trail? Are there special natural hazards like flash floods or wildfires or avalanches? What leave no trace principles will I need to be able to implement to safeguard and conserve the environment? That way others can see the same natural beauty that I get to see. This series on trip planning and leadership is continued in the next block. Camping modes. If you liked what you saw and you learned something, we want you to like and subscribe our YouTube account and follow us on Twitter at WTRLS1. Do you want to know more or share a story? Leave a comment for us in the section. We like to talk to other adventurers.